それが唯一いい情報だってばよ。力の加減をしなくて済む。
Alright, so now that we have our protagonist in the war, a theoretically likable and developed character to root for, the war is going to be good now, right? Oh, uninformed viewer. It only gets so much worse. So we see Tobi standing by the statue, and he has the same six-path thing that Pain had. Okay, so when Pain used the six-path jutsu, and he divided himself pretty much into human beings with the Rinnegan, I chalked his ability to do that up to just one of the Rinnegan's many unknown powers. But now for some reason, Obito can do it with the Rinnegan and Sharingan. And also, he doesn't need to be in that machine to control them, presumably because they're reanimated, I guess they can act on their own. But still, I'd like to know how he got a Sharingan in all their eyes. It's generally okay to create some crazy jutsu like this if you're going to only use it once, but once you show it twice, you gotta do something. For example, if another person was immortal like Hidan, it would be pretty annoyed if no one said how. If another person had 5 weird chakra puppet things composed of hearts like Kage, I'd like to know the process behind it. If there were multiple human beings walking around who happen to resemble a fish, I think it would do the series well to explain it. And the list goes on. When you have jutsu that sort of break the normal rules of reality created by your show, you don't want to reintroduce them without some explanation or it just feels wrong. Once you remove the anomaly factor, we as viewers become even more curious how one attains this power to the point of annoyance. So seriously, what is this jutsu and how does it work? Can you channel a Byakugan through these paths as opposed to a Sharingan? How about other jutsu? Can Obito give them all Haku's Kage Genkai? Or teach them all Reaper Death Seal? How is he transmitting chakra without rods? Why did it debilitate the fuck out of Nagato but not Obito? But more on that later. So they discover the Zetsus are made from Hashirama and go to tell Naruto about Madara's immortality and blah blah blah. Anyway, at one point Shikaku remarks that Madara is non-negotiable unlike Nagato because Madara is an evil man who doesn't want peace. I'm sorry, can we talk about Nagato's plan for peace? He wanted the entire world to possess semi-nuclear weapons and realized that fighting wasn't worth it because of the devastation it brings. Madara's plan is just to trap everyone in Genjutsu so no one has to die. I don't know about you, but one seems slightly more peaceful to me. I mean, where's the nuance here? Madara's plan is morally ambiguous, and instead of the story acknowledging that fact as it did with Pain and his plan, it acts as if Madara is pure evil and everything he covets is wrong. His plan sounds more noble than Pain's just in theory. Why does everyone in the show fail to recognize or even question Madara's motives? Hell, why is the entire allied force okay with throwing away their lives for this? Why have none of them defected and tried to capture Bee and Naruto for Madara? An army of supposedly 80,000 people, you mean to tell me not one of them thought turning those two over might have been for the greater good? Jeez, I guess most shinobi are just fucking stupid. So then an army of transformed shinobi go to get Naruto and Bee, and using spider sense, oh god, I mean the Ninetales omnipotent evil detector, Naruto and Bee figure out that all these people are Zetsus and they battle. And in it, Naruto unveils the following. Rasen Rangan, Rasen Kyukugan, Mini Rasen Shuriken. So then Naruto says he will leave his shadow clones to watch the place. Wait, I thought Naruto couldn't do that in Tail Beast mode because it exhausted too much chakra. Oh well. So much for that trepidation. It's not even like he spawns 5 clones, just look at these numbers. Hey Naruto, they told you there was like 5 battlefields, right? I get that it hits 1 per clone and all, but do you really need your clones to move 13 different directions? Have you discovered secret battlefields the allied forces aren't aware of? Back towards the desert, we get Torui, who has a magnet-style Kage Genkai, which for some reason comes from Earth and Wind style. Tell me when you figure out how those two are connected. Gotta keep up those chakra natures. Magnet style needs a second contributor besides Earth, so I guess we'll take the one that makes the most sense, but still doesn't really make any sense when you think about it even slightly. Seriously, how is wind connected to magnetism in any way? Oh my god, I love that line. Almost as much as I love this opening. So then we go further into the desert to see if this army will finally engage the Kage. And goddamn, this is one of the most fucking offensive scenes in the history of Naruto. And when I say offensive, I mean offensive to the viewer and its own storyline. So we get a flashback of Gaara's birth, and for some fucking reason, Lady Chiyo is there. She is literally only there because she's from the Sand Village and was pretty strong. What interest could this woman possibly have in Gaara? Remember how she had no faith in the new generation and was this kind of weird hermit? Why is she talking to the fucking Kage now? This seems like the last place she would want to be. I digress, this is the least offensive part. So we see this flashback where Gaara's father actually was testing Gaara's control of Shikaku by sending Yashimaru to kill him, and that he didn't actually hate him? Yeah, great test, you fucking scarred your child for life. Even if it succeeded, you are the worst father of all time. Then the Shikaku gets unleashed, which I don't fucking remember, but whatever, not super important to the point I'm making. So then Gaara fights his dad and he remarks that the protective sand power comes from his mother and not the Shikaku. Then we learn Yashimaru loved him, his mom loved him, and his father did too, and blames himself for Gaara's supposed failures. Gaara cries and forms the sand figure of his mother around him, and his father basically reconcile. You know, a lot of worse writing happens in the series after this, but this is by far the most offensive moment in the whole series. Allow me to elaborate. Gaara's entire character was built off of tragedy. This guy never had any friends like Naruto, accidentally murdered anyone who got too close to him, and was almost assassinated by his uncle, the only one he ever believed to love him. However, in death, he confessed hatred for Gaara and led him to become the cold-hearted killer that he was. So when Naruto confronts him and makes him understand that life doesn't have to be so dreary, and you can make your own friends and don't need to dwell in hate, it's a real turning point for his character. He finally understands what love is like. Inserting this backstory undermines all of that. This retcon removes the real tragedy for Gaara. Okay, full disclosure, up until this point, Gaara had my favorite backstory because of how unforgivingly bleak it was. Everything else seemed to at least have a shimmer of light in their sad lives, but Gaara truly had nothing. Listen to this fucking exchange with Yashimaru.
Gaara-sama, 心の奥底できっと私はあなたを産むことを望んではいなかった。する修羅、自分だけを愛しなさい。そして自分だけのために戦いなさい。
If everyone you ever met scorned you, hated you, or tried to kill you, I suspect you would also become like Gaara. His entire backstory was just the story of a normal person in such tragic circumstances that it drove him to become a cold-hearted killer. Essentially, since he couldn't feel positive emotion, he sought out murder because it made him feel something. Given his past, this made total sense and made his character growth so rewarding. His ability to see how Naruto had overcome the same loneliness inspired a feeling of hope in Gaara, because he never experienced that. And by inserting these details to his backstory, by making him into a child who was actually loved, it removes so much of the value in his transition. Instead of someone who was never loved coming to accept that perhaps he could change his heart and change the minds of others, his story becomes a child who just didn't know he was loved and it took Naruto to realize it. Come on. I realize I am 100% biased for Gaara's original backstory. I think that's because it isn't really like any other I've seen in most other stories. Most movies and television shy away from brutality towards children. Gaara's backstory was the opposite. It showed a kid almost being murdered several times, and now that formed him into a fucked up human being. But now that the true tragedy and horrific circumstances have been watered down into a misunderstanding, this entire backstory ceases to have the same impact. Now when I rewatch Gaara changing sides at the end of Chunin exams, it isn't nearly as satisfying because I know this kid was loved and just didn't realize it. He didn't overcome his terrible circumstances because in reality they weren't so bad. Instead he just overcame his false perception of his father's motives as well as the motives of his uncle and everyone else around him. Point being, this retcon completely ruins Gaara's entire character. Gaara, after he turns good, doesn't have many character moments because he doesn't really need them, much like Lee and Neji from the first series. His character arc is complete at this point. So this needless change to his past removes so much meaning from that character arc. Let me just put the original message and new message in blunt terms for comparison. Original message. Even if everyone despises you for something that isn't your fault, there's no reason to be alone. You can find people who will love you. It just might take time and extreme effort. New message. If you think everyone hates you, they actually don't. You're just too dumb and young to realize what is actually happening. Fuck this alteration. Meanwhile, Naruto and Bee meet up with Itachi and Nagato. Oh boy, this is gonna be sick. 4 of the most overpowered characters in the entire series fighting in teams of 2. I can hardly contain myself. So how come Hanzo can't be controlled but Itachi can? I'd say they're very similar in their ability to do whatever the fuck they want and not be ordered around. You know, I'm not gonna lie, Naruto versus Itachi is kind of a dream matchup in this show. He's run into him so many times and had their exchange cut short, so even if the reanimation jutsu is supremely stupid, this fight is satisfying on a purely fan service level. But trust me, I still didn't need to see this. I think that's a little less than 6 seconds to be using Universal Pull again. Asshole. So more fighting, more fighting. Oh my god, the crow is back. So now we see the crow was a measure to stop Sasuke if he ever came to attack the village because Shisui's eye was implanted, and that is the ultimate genjutsu. I would say this is a Deus Ex Machina just to have Itachi break it. And while it still is, they did at least show Shisui's eye being used way earlier for a different purpose entirely that wasn't game breaking. So I'm surprisingly more okay with this than I should be. Though I still do have some questions about this genjutsu. Like, if this was Itachi's ultimate plan to stop Sasuke, does this jutsu work indefinitely? Forever? Or would it just stop him for like a quick 30 to give him enough time for the leaf to restrain him? Some of you may be thinking, oh, it's Shisui's eye, he wouldn't even realize he was under a genjutsu. True, but I think the crow coming from Naruto's mouth might have given it away. And if he did come back to the leaf with Itachi's eyes and he and Naruto went on a mission, and Naruto happened to look into his eye, would the crow just pop out and nothing would really happen since he's on the good side? And why does it take a decade to recharge the eye? Didn't we see Danzo use it again after like 20 minutes? Oh wait, this power is too game breaking to be kept around, otherwise Itachi could use it to end the war just by looking in Obito's eye, so of course it had to be arbitrarily needing a long recharge. It's fucking genius. Though Nagato is going to kick some ass. So we see Nagato regain his strength, he absorbs B's chakra and gets his red hair back. Then he catches Naruto in a chameleon and attempts to rip his soul out. I actually really like Naruto's surprise by this jutsu since he never saw it originally. It'd be so easy just pretend he knew all the powers. Hell, I thought it for a little bit. This right here is some nice attention to detail. So Naruto, I know you're being restrained, but your hands aren't. You want to like make a couple shadow clones like how you made 1,000 earlier? Don't even have to give them the Nine Tails chakra necessarily, just make some clones to help you escape. Dumbass. Also, can we discuss this for a second? Why did Nagato bother forming the 6 paths of pain? I get that it's imposing to have more of you, but why ruin your body if having all 6 powers yourself is so much stronger? Surely there had to be some advantage to ruining your body and creating 6 of you, but given how he is handily beating 2 Jinchuriki, 1 a master and 1 half-mastered, while standing completely still, I fail to see what advantage that might be. Maybe he can only do this because he's reanimated and while he was alive and imposed too much stress on his body? I don't know, but an explanation would be really nice is all I'm saying. If I was Nagato, I would have just kept the powers to myself. You know, I'm just not even going to question how Kabuto knows everyone's jutsus at this point. I just assume he's in 19 places at once to get all these bodies and learn all their jutsu in a couple months. I mean, come on, even if you argue he tested most of them, how in the fuck did he test Planetary Devastation? Had that move been tested, all the ninja in the vicinity would have told the authorities immediately. Anyway, they get caught in it, Naruto panics, and B kind of laughs about it. I think B actually works as a great foil for Naruto. He's always so easygoing in comparison, it's really refreshing. It adds a dynamic no Naruto main character has really had brought to the table. And then they destroy the core. There's some smoke, and the Totsuka Blade. Jesus, Itachi is overpowered. 1 hit and you're out, bud. But first, book analogies. Get it? Try was an author. Still really corny though. Then the 3 of them talk. Itachi says he's going to end the reanimation jutsu. Then he says Naruto has Shisui's spirit. I thought Shisui believed in working from the shadows, which isn't really Naruto at all, but okay. And then he entrusts him to save Sasuke because he realized he can't do everything himself. You know, I don't love this exchange or anything, but I think this fight has something going for it most others don't. Stakes and a point. All fights prior to this one in the war have had little to no bearing on the general plot. You could have cut out Sasori versus Kankuro, Sai versus his brother, Inashika Cho versus Asuma, Kakashi versus Zabuza. Really everything can go except arguably Darui's fight. He's the only one whose outcome had any effect on the rest of the story. And now this one. This fight made it so Itachi broke free of the jutsu and now we'll go to stop Kabuto. Never mind the fact this jutsu never needed to exist in the first place. But still, even me saying this fight isn't bad is a far cry from what the series used to be. At this point in the show, it's just satisfying to see an okay fight because most of them are fucking trash. Even the fight with Kingaku and Gingaku really fell off once the gold one transformed and it stopped being the convoluted game. Oh look, random ninja trying to seal him away, how riveting. I digress. Moving right along. Okay, quick aside. Who is Kage between Gaara and his dad? I assume he didn't take office immediately, right? So did the village just have no leader for about 2 years? Anyone? Just curious. So then the Mizukage tries to tell these ninja he's a mirage and they need to hit his giant clam, but the one they see is also a mirage, so they need to find the real him and the real clam. And the whole time the Mizukage is trying to help the ninja, I just don't get it. It's actually pretty fantastic. Then you have the Sechukage fighting the other Sechukage and everything is going just fine and is okay until... What the Well, I'm glad that Naruto now outclasses the fucking Kage. Naruto has surpassed everyone and is officially Jesus. The guy who could barely beat 6 pains last we actually saw him fight can now destroy the Kage with a single blow. You know, having him outspeed the Raikage was already insulting to everyone else in the show, but now it's just getting absurd. I already talked about how this insane power boost fundamentally undermines everything Naruto has ever stood for as a character, but even setting that aside, this power boost is pretty unsatisfying for the most part. He gets really fast and can make some bigger Rasengans. Whoop-de-doo. Guess that's all you need to outclass the Kage. Seriously, he used like a big Rasengan and that was enough to stop his atomic dismantling jutsu. And the Tsuchikage makes him heavy and bada bing, bada seal, he's done. So then we move to the Mizukage and in true Naruto fashion, Genjutsu isn't enough, so now the Mizukage fires really fast bubbles. I am very disappointed. I hoped he'd stick to the Genjutsu for a little change of pace, you know. Someone who can use it without the fucking Rasengan. Those people come once in a series. So then Gaara of the Sand comes in to protect his men, and the Mizukage says he will never beat him with a physical attack. So Gaara of the Sand tells him he has been searching for the clam with his hand, and hoping it would pile up in the shape of a clam. I can appreciate the ingenuity here as opposed to just blowing up the desert, which I would have come to expect by now. Then the Sechukage has lost his chakra for particle style. Geez, it's a good thing Naruto showed up just in time, so instead he punches it and strains his back. This leads the Mizukage to taunt him and then death by bubble. Hold on, Naruto has to battle God, aka the Raikage. So this Raikage has super armor and any attacks they inflict on him heal almost immediately. His lightning makes him incredibly fast and also lends to his absurd defense. So basically Naruto has to battle an omnipotent fighter. Wait, if Raikage is God and Naruto is the savior, does that mean Jesus is attempting to overtake God? I mean, seriously, can we discuss how powerful this guy is? He's stronger than Madara if you really think about it. He fought an army of 10,000 people by himself and stood his ground for 3 days and 3 nights. I don't think Madara could have held his ground against that many people for that long. Sure, Madara has some better offensive capabilities, but put these two in a fight against one another, and I genuinely would place my money on the Raikage. So anyway, they're debating how to beat him when Temari says... First of all, you're an arrogant ass to say you're the best. There were 80,000 of you. How could you even conceivably know you're the best wind style user? That would be like if every painter who ever lived stood in a room and Van Gogh remarked that he was the best. Like, yeah, he's definitely up there, but it doesn't make him an asshole not saying that. Second of all, Naruto has to pop in and say he's better. Okay, Naruto, no one is going to doubt for a second that you could eat Temari, but she was referring to her wind style prowess, not her general strength. All this woman knows how to do is wave her scythe. You, on the other hand, have a singular move in your arsenal that uses wind style, and it's one you can't even use without the Nine Tails or Sage mode, meaning it isn't exactly readily available. So unless you can beat him in like 2 moves, assuming you have a similar limit to Sage mode, then your wind style ain't nothing to brag about. So let's see how this plays out. Naruto jumps up in the air attempting to use it, and Temari comments about the Rasengan. How does she know what that is? Like 4 people have learned this jutsu. Ever. And 2 of them are dead by this point. I mean, granted, it could be famous and all, I'm not saying that, but she seems to know an awful lot about it to be able to feel the wind nature and realize it isn't a normal Rasengan. I don't think most shinobis could physically feel that difference if they tried and knew it was different, but Temari just knows here. Then Naruto says that Raikage are always super fast. You have met 2. Literally 2. One of them was the other's father. I think that's kind of a baseless generalization. Plus, weren't you fucking faster than the newest Raikage, the man who has never been outsped except by Minato? and you, who was just really fast for no reason, fucking hit him. Plus, how are you missing? Weren't you able to expand the Rasengan when fighting Pain to catch him off guard? Why not do it here? You have all the reason and more. But instead he just fucking catches it. Yeah, because I guess we can just catch jutsus now. We can catch random balls of fucking chakra with close to our bare hands. So Naruto rushes him and tosses it at point blank range. And then we see it just didn't do shit and he's still alive. Fuck Pain, this guy is the only real god in Naruto. Then he charges his hand and one guy orders them to form an earth wall. Why? Remember this? Remember how earth style loses to lightning style? Yeah, you fucking rookies, just build a wall of earth against one of the greatest lightning users ever. That ought to protect us. Alternatively, we could try and put gusts of wind in the way to weaken it, but now we'll just use a wall of material as chakra nature is made to destroy. What could possibly go wrong? So they do that, and then this guy delivers the exposition about the Raikage makes a wall out of rubber using lava style. Tune in next week when Haku creates literal glass out of ice style.
人なのかあのおっさん
No, I already told you, Naruto. He's a deity seeking revenge because you guys haven't shown him enough praise. So Naruto notices the scar and tries to figure out how he got it if his body regenerates so quickly. Astute eye, you knucklehead ninja. However, we are told nobody on the planet Earth knows how. Then Naruto, reminded of the Eight Tails, attempts the Tailed Beast Bomb, again, despite having not been able to do it. And what do you know, he can't do it. Great going, Naruto. If you get hit once, you go poof and the battle is over. And you just lost all your speed due to your own ignorance. So then he patches into the Eight Tails to find out how he got the scar. He says he ain't really sure, since by the end they had fallen forward. He thought maybe it was a Tailed Beast Bomb, but he doesn't really know. But then Naruto figures it out in like 5 seconds. And this whole fight, Naruto has not been himself. For some reason, he has been perceptive, contemplative, thinking. He's fighting more like Kakashi than himself. Naruto's style had been characterized by a sort of recklessness. He just kind of do shit until something worked, and that was okay because that was his character. He worked hard and did shit training till it worked. Unlike some other characters. So for Naruto to suddenly solve the puzzle here is just entirely out of his character and personality. But what is this puzzle? Well, Naruto creates a Rasengan and uses Sage Mode to move fast, dodge his arm, and make it slam into himself. In other words, Naruto figured out the only thing that could slay God was himself. That's right. Only the omnipotent being could hurt himself. What a bunch of fucking crap. This is easily one of the worst fights in the entire series. Alright guys, time for fan theories. What wins, Lord Third's ultimate spear or Itachi's ultimate shield? I'll leave a straw poll in the comments below. Oh, turns out the Tsuchikage didn't die by bubble because Gaara saved him. And then they try to seal him with sand, but it explodes, and we see the Mizukage's infinite explosion jutsu. What? This comes from steam? I don't really get the connection, but okay. Oh wait, they're explaining it. So it's an oil-based skin with water inside that allows it to rapidly expand and contract. So it can heat up and cool down more easily. Okay. And then it rapidly expands and explodes, and then shrinks back down with a bunch of hail being released. I mean, I get it, but also if Naruto is now going to include physics in its clone jutsus, then there are some questions I have to ask. Now, I'm no chemist, but I do know that oil is less dense than water. Try this one at home, kids. Take a cup and fill it with oil and water. Shake it. Wait an hour. The oil will now be on top of its own volition. So if we're going to pretend the explosion power from the rapid expansion is physically possible, then how is this clone even physically possible? If the body shape is acting as a container, the oil should rush to the top, and the water should fill in down below. Oh, what am I fucking... Am I really applying physics to Naruto? So this is the least memorable fight of the war. I literally forgot it even happened until I went back to rewatch the show for this video. So they basically dodge this exploding guy until Gaara manages to get a bunch of his father's gold dust on the exploding thing. And using that gold dust, he bonds it to the oil and prevents an explosion. Does that even work? Does gold really bond with oil? I mean, it doesn't react with water, so that's these elements over here, largely. And I guess we don't know what type of oil, but let's just say crude oil. So you see, oh god, I'm doing it again! I'm applying science to Naruto!
捨てられた水蒸気を冷やすには熱伝導のいい菌がさらに一役買ってる
Okay, well, that's just simply not true. Anyway, we see the Tsuchikage actually managed to escape by splitting himself in two. Everybody more or less takes a break on the battlefield, paranoid about Zetsu, and Naruto sends his clones everywhere to sniff out the disguised Zetsu. God, I hate this power. Not only is it basically what he already had in Sage mode, which made more sense there because it was nature energy and he was taking in the environment, it's also far superior and has basically no logical explanation. Huh. Guess I'm asking too much of the show by now. So we get a bunch of sequences of Naruto's detective mode sniffing out bad guys. It's just as boring as you would expect and goes on way too long. Like an entire episode of this crap and literally nothing else, but then...
Tobi isn't Madara? Then who is he? What?
I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say it was incredibly obvious this guy wasn't Madara. First of all, just from a proportion standpoint, this guy does not look like Madara. Second of all, why would Madara only expose a single Sharingan? There was no record of him losing an eye, and we were told nothing about it, so this twist never really made any sense to begin with. Although Tobi actually had two, but didn't use the other one for some reason. The Kage should have looked at Tobi when he went to the summit, declared war, and just heard him say it was Madara and just laughed in his face. So we get an exaggerated sequence where Madara proves once and for all that if you aren't Uchiha, you can go fuck yourself. He rips out fireballs which can kill 100 ninja at once. The freaking Susanoo. Hey, remember when that was like an Itachi exclusive jutsu? Ha! Now all the Uchiha got it. And basically they're preparing to rush him, so Gaara rips him from the Susanoo, and Naruto uses Rasen Shuriken. And then we get our big reveal. The Rinnegan is just an ultimate Sharingan. But actually, if you watch the anime, you got this reveal like 3 minutes earlier when the animation team accidentally drew him with the Rinnegan and not the Sharingan. Jeez, I feel really bad for the Hyuga clan. They have a visual jutsu too, but it just sucks so much in comparison. They're like that shitty knockoff cereal at the grocery store no one wants to buy because it's right next to the good brand. So Kabuto talks with him and discusses how the natural step after Sharingan is Rinnegan, and Madara scorns him for having been able to decipher the secret Uchiha tablet. But wait. So I know I joked earlier that there should be some Senjus to stop Naruto with their wood style, but upon further research I discovered that only Hashirama had wood style. It was not a Senju ability. So wait. Let me get this straight. These two clans who feuded for hundreds of years, senselessly murdering one another, were said to be equal in strength when the Uchiha had the Sharingan and the Senju basically had nothing. How did they even stand the slightest chance? Furthermore, Madara realized you needed to possess the wood style to unlock the Rinnegan. He discovered this by reading the tablet that only Uchiha can read. How in the fuck did anyone make that tablet if the only person who has ever had wood style is Hashirama? If one man's fucking cells are required for the Rinnegan, how were they able to create those instructions if that man wasn't even born yet? And why does the Rinnegan revolve around a single human being's power? A fucking wood style, nonetheless. I haven't even mentioned its retarded connection to the Izanagi and Izanami. Seriously, how did anyone discover these jutsus if you need the cells of a man who wasn't even born yet? How does making trees connect to extreme visual prowess, which allows for absorbing ninjutsu, creating animatronics, repelling and attracting objects, healing dead people, summoning weird animals that multiply, and removing people's souls? So no, Kabuto, Rinnegan is not the natural step after Sharingan, because had Hashirama's body been even slightly kept from the public instead of somehow readily available, then no one would have ever unlocked it. I mean, sure, the 5-second reveal of it is pretty cool and took me by surprise, but like a jump scare, once your immediate shock wears off, you just end up pissed and confused. I mean, seriously, this guy is fucking strong enough as it is. Look at him. He is demolishing an entire army. But anyway, after this little reveal, Madara decides to drop an entire asteroid on the planet. Never mind the fact that a rock that size would create shockwaves so large the air would cease to be breathable, and all life on Earth would perish in a short time, he decides to drop it anyway. So Inoiki flies up to stop it and lightens it, and Gaara uses some sand and the rock is stopped. But then Madara just drops another one on that asteroid. Damn, he's so cool. I still think the third Raikage could have eaten the asteroid though. And then after the massive death toll, Madara decides he hasn't had quite enough. So he tests out wood style and almost annihilates everyone else with deep forest emergence, but the Nine Tails lends Naruto some of its chakra to create a line of Naruto's using giant Rasengan. So how much of the Nine Tails chakra did Naruto send to this one clone that it could create this many other clones using all massive Rasengans? Just curious. So then Tsunade is like, I've had enough of this shit. The war has gone on for far too long. Tsunade, it's been going on for less than 2 days. Angry, she demands she be transported down with the same jutsu used to transport items, and this girl says she will surely die, and the only person who's ever survived it is God himself. But Tsunade insists that she can handle it because of her mitonic regeneration, and the Raikage is the son of God, so it all works out. Pretty much everyone agrees the Raikage will be fine since he's his father's son. Excuse me, his dad quite literally could never take damage unless it was from himself. Will they show signs of fatigue and damage on the battlefield from this jutsu? Nah, that'd be too consistent. Actually, it's literally the opposite. The two of them come out swinging. Yeah, Tsunade does use her regeneration ability and all, but considering everyone else who just passed through literally died, why can't she come out so mobile? Oh, and the Raikage is just fine. No problems here. My dad wasn't mortal. Alright, so now we're back to the Black Zetsu, a member of the Akatsuki we've been waiting to see fight since part 1 of Naruto. It's quite literally years in the making. And Chojuro just cut him in half. The fuck, man? I thought you were the Earth. And you got cut in half by a prepubescent dude wielding a sword. You really are pathetic. Wait, so now we need to get the Mizukage to Madara? So a bunch of random ass leaf ninja who happen to be there can use the flying Rajan jutsu if they all join hands around their target and sing Kumbaya. The explanation is that these guys were guards for Minato, and he casually taught it to them one day. Okay, well, one, isn't that guy a Chunin? What was a Chunin doing guarding a fucking Kage? Secondly, if we could just teach this jutsu to you guys, why are they the only ones who know it? Conceivably, a bunch of other ninja could have also learned this, right? Can't be too hard if Minato just taught you 3 randomly selected ninja in his spare time. So then, why is Minato the only one who could ever use it on his own? And they claim Tsunade has had the mark on her, so they will get there as soon as she does, but then they land like 10 feet from her? So is the mark on her or on the piece of ground 10 feet over? In theory, you guys should have spawned like on top of her, you know? Kind of like how Minato did with his seals? But none of that matters if it was all just to get the 5 Kage here, you know? Those guys who could barely take down Sasuke when he just unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan. Let's see how they do against a Renegon level Uchiha. So the Raikage and Mizukage use some jutsu to no avail. Naruto asks to be healed and they're like, nah, we got this. But they actually don't. Because this isn't a war to protect you, it's a war to protect each other. But weren't you protecting him to protect each other from Infinite Tsukiyomi? It's like that line in episode 8 of Star Wars. We can't fight what we hate. You must protect what we love. Yeah, but couldn't you also do that by fighting what you hate? Anyway, I don't want to talk about Star Wars. There's enough people contributing to that conversation already. So anyway, they convince Naruto to leave. 'Tis a shame. What a horrible mistake. And now we finally get to see Tobi fight when Naruto and him quite literally butt heads. So is that 3rd spot for the Byakugan he wants to implant in his forehead? Okay, before we even get to this fight, now that the battlefields of the war are over, let's discuss Tobi's original plan. So this guy was originally going to battle with just the white Zetsu. Kabuto only joined because he approached him. Had Kabuto not been there, I think it's safe to say Obito would have lost in like a day. As it is, he gets beaten in 2. But anyway, this guy planned to murder all of ninja kind with an army of disposable amalgamations that most adept ninja could beat pretty handily. They lost half their forces in 1 day to Obito's army, true, but considering that Kakashi's entire team was preoccupied, as well as Sai and Kankuro, Mifune, Darui, Inoshika-cho, and a plethora of other people, I think it's safe to assume that those casualties could have been much, much lower. The Zetsu supposedly weren't even as strong as they were at the start of the war because Kabuto conveniently captured Yamato at the first Hokage's cells. Poor Yamato. He had so much character potential which was just squandered after that awful second arc. I think Sai's poor reception also gave some heat to Yamato, it didn't really deserve it. He was a fine character who got reduced to nothing by the start of this arc. Anyway, just look at Tobi in this fight now, using 6 reanimated Jinchuriki to hold off Naruto and B. Had they not been there, I think Naruto could have finished him pretty instantly. Yeah, he can phase through objects, but this guy could have found a way just by repeatedly hitting him with massive Rasengans or something. So Obito is already falling behind this far with the reanimated army and strengthened Zetsus. I have no idea how he expected to take on all the 5 Kage minus all this assistance. Seriously, had Kabuto not helped him, Obito would have been captured in like 3 hours. Great plan, Obito. Really thought this one through on every level. Additionally, without the Edo Tensei, you wouldn't have Kingaku and Gingaku to get the Ten Tails and demolish the entire army. This guy was asking to get his ass beaten, looked out meaning Kabuto. He also looked out that Kingaku and Gingaku were sealed in the coffin and not in any other way because their souls would have been released and Obito would have had no Nine Tails chakra to draw upon later. That's convenient. But I am getting ahead of myself. First we gotta watch Naruto beat 6 Jinchuriki in like 10 minutes. So B goes after Seven Tails and she dodges despite not looking at him. Oh no. It's the Renegon connected vision. And they're also using the Sharingan to track their movements, you know. Kinda like how it was originally intended to be used. There's some minor fighting, but then the Eight Tails is just like, let's just remove all the trees. Now I hope you guys all like looking at this wasteland, because it isn't going anywhere for a long time. Kishimoto really didn't want to draw backgrounds anymore. Also, this destruction is intercut with all the other battlefields shown to be near conclusions, so they can all join Naruto soon. Then even though we just watched Naruto and B struggle against the 6 of these Jinchuriki, after B kinda wrecks the forest, they're all ready to be sealed. Of course Tobi intervenes to stop this by making them transform, but seriously, all it took was a little twisting and they were going down for the count. And then conversely, they'll repeatedly hit the Eight Tails until it is down, and Naruto is about to be captured when suddenly Guy and Kakashi appear. Oh boy, 2 fan favorites have joined the fray. Also, I love how Obito brags about having Sharingan on his side, and Kakashi says, yeah, well I do too, and Guy is like, I can also do stuff. You wish you could do what the Sharingan can do.